In this video, I'm going to be going over the Nike Metcon 4 and trying to figure out whether or not it is worth it for the price. All that and more coming up. Welcome back everyone, and on this channel I like to go over a lot of men's style tips and tricks to make sure that you are fresh. And in this video we are going to be going over the Nike Metcon 4 with the goal of potentially upgrading your sneaker game. So if you're new, consider subscribing. And with me today I got my brother Ashton.
What's up guys, how's it going?
Yes, and he played an important role in my life because he taught me a lot of what I know about gym and exercise. So like I said, in this video we're going to be going over the performance benefits of the Nike Metcon 4. And Ashton, when it comes to gym shoes, is there anything in particular that you are looking for?
Not necessarily anything in particular. Obviously you want a nice soft sole for when more running and stuff like that, but you also want a harder sole when it comes to lifting, so I'm curious to see what this shoe can do.
Yes, and when it comes to shoes like this, we're going to be going over 4 main categories. We're going to be going over cushioning, we're going to be going over materials, the support, and overall the colorway. Is it a dope shoe or is it not? So stick around to the end of the video so that you will see whether or not it gets the stamp of approval and to see whether or not it's worth it for the price. Alrighty, so for the first category we have the cushioning setup. Now, when it comes to the Nike Metcon 4, it actually has a drop-in midsole, and this drop-in midsole has a dual density foam setup, which means that in the heel of the foot, it's a little bit more firm for things like doing squats. It's going to make you a little bit more stable so that you don't feel like you're quivering or anything like that. And on the forefoot rather, it has a softer, more plush cushioning, which is great because if you decide to do a little bit of cardio, you know, it's going to have softer stepping comfort for when you are explosive and jump off the finish line and stuff like that. So, Ashley, when it comes to a cushioning setup, is there anything that you prefer? Do you not care? Do you care? What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I don't really care. I'm a huge Nike fan. I only train in Nike shoes. I prefer the softer soles when I'm doing running, when I'm doing long distance running especially. But yeah, when I'm lifting, I like kind of a more firm shoe.
Yeah.
A little harder sole, like you said.
Yeah.
When you're squatting, when you're doing different exercises like that, you want that extra stability.
Excellent, and that's a good point that I noticed with the shoe is because it is dual density, it's firm in the heel and soft in the forefront. It's a perfect balance of a shoe that you can run in and a shoe that you can lift in.
Definitely.
Alright, so for the next category, we're going to be going over the materials. Now, according to Nike, this is a textured mesh, and apparently it is stronger than any Metcon sneaker in the past. And there's also some other great benefits when it comes to materials as well. So on top of the forefoot of the shoe having this engineered mesh right here, it also has fuse wrapped around so that if there's ever a case where you got to do a toe drag, it's going to keep you protected and it's not going to put any holes in the shoe. Also, it has mesh, like I mentioned, for increased breathability as well. So another couple key features is this textured rubber right here on the medial side of the shoe. And what this is going to do is actually help you with things like rope climbing. It's going to give you that extra grip. So if you're pretending to be George of the Jungle and you got to do any rope climbing, who knows? That's just an extra feature. And lastly, one of the cool features that I think is worth noting is they have this plastic, I guess you would call it a heel cap, on the end of the shoe, and in any instances where you're doing handstands up against the wall and you're doing any shoulder presses, it's going to be slick and it's not going to prevent you from doing any mobility or anything like that. So, Ashley, when it comes to materials of a shoe, is there any instances where you had a shoe that broke down or something like that?
Oh, 100%. I think every gym shoe eventually breaks down, but I really like this toe guard that you were talking about because I've had shoes actually rip here and I notice a lot of wear and tear in the heel, but this one seems pretty solid.
Yeah.
I also like that you mentioned this breathable material because yeah, unfortunately when you do work out, your feet tend to smell, and this is a good material for breathability.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that stank foot. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and so the next feature that we are going to be going over is the support of the shoe. Now, when you're doing all kinds of different types of movements, whether you're cross training, whether you're just doing standard lifts like lunges or anything like that, you're going to want to make sure that your foot is contained. And this has a key feature in it called fly wire. And basically, I'll give you guys a close-up shot, but there's these little strings that are attached to the laces. And what it's going to do is almost act as fingers, where it's going to keep your foot contained and make sure that it's not rolling around when you're doing those types of movements that I mentioned. And so this shoe, in my opinion, from my experience using previous renditions, is pretty great support and comfort and stuff like that. So Ashton, in your experience using different types of gym shoes, was there ever a time where your foot didn't feel contained?
Yeah, well, I've had many shoes, like I said, I like a lot of the mesh shoes, which is not necessarily enough support for running and stuff like that. So there was a time I was running and I rolled my ankle, but I didn't even notice those strings. Yeah, that looks very supportive. And even this, I don't know what this plastic thing is called, but this also looks like it could hold your heel in place when you're running, and just to avoid an injury.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There is a TPU heel counter on this shoe, and basically what that is just, it's going to keep your heel contained so that it's not flip-flopping out or there's going to be instability. And that's a key feature when you're doing things like squats, deadlifts, lunges. You're going to want to make sure that your heel is intact, because you know, whenever there's mobility in your heel, you risk injury, like the Achilles tendon, injuring that and stuff like that. So, and moving on to the last feature of the shoe is just the overall colorway. Like, what are your thoughts on the shoe?
Man, I think the shoe is like super dope, just because me specifically, my favorite color is red. I like the red, I like the black, I like how slick it looks. I even like the grooves here, the sole looks nice. I really like this shoe. I would definitely pick something like this up.
Excellent. So this shoe, it comes in a number of different variations. There's been previous iterations of it as well. So right now, the shoe currently retails for $170. Now, I did see it some places discounted, but would you pay $170 for a gym shoe?
Yes and no. To be honest, like for this shoe, I would probably, if I was to guess, I'd price it around 120. That's what I feel comfortable. 170, I'd maybe like something with a little higher heel or something else around those lines. Like, I'm not a huge CrossFit guy, so these little grooves for climbing rope wouldn't really
pertain to you.
Pertain to me, yeah, exactly. But I really like it. It's breathable. There's nice cushions. I like the sole. So yeah, I would roughly spend 120, 150 bucks on this.
Excellent. So that pretty much wraps up our video, guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch us. I hope this sort of morphed your opinion on it. And basically, I would give it the stamp of approval for sure. I think it's a great all-around shoe for doing all different types of movements. But to your point, honestly, I don't think that I would pay $170 for these, just because I've seen them, similar versions in the Nike outlet for much cheaper. This is, in my opinion, the Metcon series is the best gym shoe that you can buy, just because of its versatility. That dual density foam being firm in the heel for squats and deadlifts and soft in the forefoot for running and stuff like that. It really is a great shoe. So that's all the time we have for today, guys. So thanks so much for checking out the video. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new, like the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, check out all the great stuff that's going on in the description, like a link to my Instagram account and my podcast. And without further ado, guys, peace.